Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to today's installment of Open Mic, the show where the mic is open. The floor is yours. What do you guys want to talk about? That is what we're here to discuss. My name, of course, is right here. I'm John Campea. Good to have you guys here with me. And this is kind of, this is just another open mic, but it's kind of the start of a new era for open mic, if you will, as we're going to be doing open mics now most afternoons, Monday through Friday, not every single day, but I'd say a good 4 days a week, sometimes 5, maybe sometimes 3 days a week. We're going to have open mics here because, of course, on the John Campea Show, we don't take the super chat questions anymore. We take the live questions here, and it's good to have you guys here. Now, there are two different ways to get your question on open mic. The first way is if you're watching live, and you have to be watching live, is that you use the super chat feature. Send in a super chat and we will address your question, provided it's appropriate to be addressed. The second way is if you're not watching the show live and you're watching the show a little bit later in the day when we've already done the live stream, you can still send in a question by using our tip link that's at streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. And that's another way to send in questions to be addressed here on Open Mic. And thank you to everybody who's already here in the live chat joining us. Good to see all of you guys. We've already got a couple hundred people in here. Good to have you. So let's get things started here, shall we? And the way we start open mic is by me kind of just kicking off the conversation by picking a topic that we can discuss off the top. And the one I want to talk about right now is something that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier in the John Campea Show earlier today, because you guys remember that on the John Campea Show today, we talked about this story that came out where James Gunn had kind of revealed that they were no longer going to be doing the Authority movie. Now, they had never officially announced it. They never said it was greenlit, and they never certainly set a release date for it. But we did know that they were developing it. James Gunn had said they were developing it, but it's kind of fallen off the wayside. But they still have a Booster Gold thing coming. They still have a Paradise Lost coming, which is, if you don't know what Paradise Lost is, it's based on Themyscira, which is, of course, the Amazonian island where Wonder Woman comes from. And I believe it's going to be a story that's set like 400 years before the events of, modern day, like 400 years in the past before the events of modern day. So that's what they're going for. Now, of course, with the Authority being canceled, James Gunn gave a couple of reasons. He said, number one, the script just never got to a place that we wanted it to be. He wasn't writing it himself, but he said the script never got to be where we wanted it to be. He also said that in an earlier interview, before they announced that they were going to scrap the project, that they were facing challenges with the Authority because The Boys happened, right? Like The Boys came out and they cover a lot of the themes in The Boys that they were also going to cover in the Authority. And so he said became a little bit tricky and they decided to scrap it. But that all raises a question that you guys can see what a lot of people would be thinking. With Booster Gold, with the Authority, with Clayface, with Peacemaker, with the, what was the name of the animated show? Not the Monster Brigade. What was Creature Commandos? With Creature Commandos, James Gunn has already invested a lot in developing projects for lesser known to unknown characters, right? Because like, if you're in the comic book circles, you know who Booster Gold is. If you're just a moviegoer and somebody who likes maybe even comic book movies, a lot of you don't know Booster Gold, right? Certainly nobody knew about Peacemaker, and certainly nobody knows about Clayface. Again, for those who aren't in the comic book circles, what have you. So he does seem to be spending a lot of time focusing on these kinds of characters. Now, of course, we already did get a Superman movie. We're getting a Supergirl movie. Man of Tomorrow is coming. Sure. But it is interesting that we've now had Creature Commandos. We've got Clayface coming. We got Supergirl coming. We've got Superman. We got a Man of Tomorrow thing coming, all that kind of stuff. And, Booster Gold's in development. Paradise Lost is in development. But we still don't have Batman. Like, we're getting a Clayface movie. A Clayface movie before we've even met Batman in this new DCU. We're getting a Booster Gold project before ever even meeting Wonder Woman in this DC universe. Wonder Woman, Diana's not even going to be in Paradise Lost, to the best of my knowledge. Isn't even going to be in there at all. We don't have a new Aquaman yet. We don't have a new Aquaman. So anyway, it raises the question, and I've seen some debate going on about whether or not James Gunn should be focusing more on the more pillar established DC characters before trying to flesh out the whole DC universe with lesser known characters. And Jonathan and I kind of touched on it earlier today on the John Campea show, but in an ideal world, I would think that if you were starting a brand new DC, you start with two of the three. And when I say the three, you know who I mean. The Trinity. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, right? In an ideal world, I think you launch your DC universe with a minimum 2 out of those 3. Maybe 3 out of 3. But a minimum 2 out of 3, right? So you either start with a Superman and a Wonder Woman, or a Batman and a Wonder Woman, or a Superman and a Batman. Like, you start with one of those, or 2 of those, maybe even all 3 before you start expanding out. But James Gunn's philosophy of, we are going to make the movies that are ready to be made. We're going to make the movies that have completed scripts, that when completed, we don't just mean they're done writing them. We mean they've been written, we've evaluated them, had rewrites done on them, tweaked them, adjusted them, perfected them. We will make the movies that are ready to be made, not before. And if we have a movie that we think the script is in a great place, ready to be made, should be shot, it's a great story, it's going to make a great movie, we don't feel that we should just sit around on our thumbs and go, nah, we won't make that. We'll rush out a Batman movie, or we'll rush out a Wonder Woman movie. If James Gunn's going to have that philosophy, it's going to mean that you might have certain movies that are really good and ready to be made, like Clayface. You may have that completed. Mike Flanagan writes it. Of course you're going to make that movie. And the trailer is awesome. But if it's ready to go and it's a great script and you have high belief in it, okay, maybe in an ideal world you make a Batman movie and a Superman movie and a Wonder Woman movie, and then you do something like that. But in reality, you have a great movie that's ready to go that will elevate the perception of DC. Again, Clayface, we talked about this before. Clayface is not going to make $600 million at the box office. It's just not. We all know this. But James Gunn's primary concern right now is because of how trashed DC's reputation is due to the Snyderverse. And again, it's a little unfair to Zack Snyder to call it the Snyderverse, because a lot of it wasn't his fault, but that's what everybody calls it, the Snyderverse. So with DC's screen reputation being totally in the shit toilet, James Gunn's, one of his top priorities has got to be just putting out really good movies, whether they hit incredibly high box offices or not, because in the long term, you invest in making high quality product right now, it will pay off later down the line. Believe that. It will pay off. Just like making a bunch of crappy movies down the line will cost you. That's what happened in the Snyderverse, right? They started putting out a bunch of subpar product, and eventually you had movies making $250 million and a couple of films making under $200 million. Blue Beetle deserved to make a hell of a lot more than $200 million. I don't think it's a top 10 greatest comic book movie of all time, but Blue Beetle was pretty damn good. It was a fun, entertaining, charming little film. Had its drawbacks, absolutely, but it was a fun film. That movie, you know, in a standard comic book healthy universe, that movie makes $450 million. Like not 800 million or anything like that, but that pretty solid Blue Beetle movie makes 450, $475 million. But because they invested crap, and they had a long succession of mediocre to subpar movies, eventually it catches up to them, and even the pretty good films make no money. That's the reverse of what James Gunn's trying to do. Oh, but happy birthday. Hi man human. Happy birthday to you, my friend. We're glad you're joining us here on your birthday. Anyway, James Gunn is trying to invest in planting quality seeds so that even if, you know, Clayface doesn't make $400 million, it will be respected, it will be enjoyed, and then that way future projects can earn, or the future projects can reap the benefit of what they're sowing now. So what Jonathan said earlier today on the show, and by the way, I agree with Jeff. I thought Blue Beetle and Flash Flash was really good. Like, I'm sorry, I'll debate anybody about that. I thought The Flash was a really good movie. One of the greatest comic book films of all time? No. Which, by the way, if you ever see anybody saying this, James Gunn never said that The Flash was one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. That was not James Gunn. James Gunn said it was really good. James Gunn never said The Flash was one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. All right. That was somebody else that said that. It wasn't James Gunn. But anyway, yes, I agree. I thought The Flash was a really good movie. But again, it completely crapped. Completely crapped at the box office because that's what the DC universe was doing at the time. So anyway, going back to what I think Jonathan said earlier today on the show, and I agree with him, which is I think what James Gunn is going for, and what I hope he does, is find the sweet spot of a balance between introducing stuff that a lot of the audience doesn't know, like a Booster Gold, like a Peacemaker, like a Clayface, like a Maxima, with constantly bringing in the pillar characters. Obviously, your Trinity, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, other high-level characters, Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, guys like that. If he can maintain mix, because I fear, and I don't think James Gunn will do this, but I fear that if he goes too far one way and just like does, you know, a Polka Dot Man movie and a Condiment King movie and a Calendar Man movie and Booster Gold and like all these characters that the general movie-going audience has no idea who or what they are, then I'm afraid that even if he makes some really good, critically well and audience well-received movies, they're never going to, you know, break through to reach the wider mass audience to try to start to tickle those Marvel numbers. So yeah. And like, I think like Cito is saying in the live chat, I want to see a Zatanna movie. Yeah. I think there are a lot of comic book fans who do, but I think Zatanna falls under that same category as Clayface, Booster Gold, Maxima, characters like that. So I think you can make a really good one there, but you got to be careful when you do it. You got to be careful when you do it. So that'll be interesting. So to me, I think it's okay that they haven't made a Batman yet. It's not what I would have done, but I think it's okay that they haven't done a Batman yet. But I don't think you can have 5 or 6 projects of lesser known characters get made before you get your Batman made. Because again, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, that's your Trinity. Those are your 3 main pillars that are going to make DC work. So I do hope he gets around to them sooner rather than later. But right now, I think his balance approach is working. Obviously, every project he's done so far has been critically well received, has been audience well received. Superman, the movie, despite the fact that DC's reputation was totally trashed, Superman made more money at the box office than the previous 9 Snyderverse DC movies did. Think about that. As the DC EU did this with all of its box office, along comes the very first project James Gunn does, trying to rehabilitate the image of DC. And what happens? Massive critic scores, massive audience scores, and a bigger box office than the previous 9 DCEU films, all in one movie. Peacemaker got great numbers. You know, I hope Supergirl is good. I feel pretty confident that Supergirl is going to be good. I didn't love the CinemaCon presentation of it, though, so I'm a little bit wondering about that. Clayface looks like it's going to be awesome. So anyway, obviously James Gunn off to a really good start, and we'll see where they go. All right, guys. With that down, let's get on to the real reason we're here, shall we, on a show called Open Mic, which is to take your questions. So I just announced it today, so we only had a couple of questions come in our stream element, so I'm just going to read them off here. So we're going to take first the tip questions that people sent in before the show started, like well before the show started. They used our tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the ones that came in from there. Mandalorian545 writes, "Hey, John, follower since 2013. Thank you so much. Thanks for the fun times. Will you be making it to Michigan, Metro Detroit, on your travel meetups? Bonus, there's a bridge to Canada close by it. If that helps, may the force be with you." I'm very familiar with that bridge because that's the bridge I take when I drive back to Canada. Now, where I grew up in Hamilton, Ontario, which is like 45 minutes from Buffalo, like it's right beside Niagara Falls. And Niagara Falls is where I would normally, when I lived in Canada, the Niagara Falls is where I would drive over the border and over that bridge. But when I'm driving from down here in California to go up to Canada, I go right through Detroit and I take that exact bridge you're talking about. And by the way, the next leg of the movie meetups are happening at the end of May. And they will be in Columbus, Ohio, Boston, New York, and maybe Toronto. Maybe Toronto. I haven't fully decided on that yet. I will keep you up to date and I will let you know. So maybe Toronto. Anyway. I am not currently planning on visiting Detroit. No particular reason other than the fact that it's already so close to Canada and to home. And I'm going to be doing a lot of movie meetups already in the Northeast because, you know, later in June or July, we're also going to go to Philadelphia. By the way, folks in Philadelphia, we're going to be doing a movie meetup. I can't remember the exact day yet, but Ann and I have tickets to a World Cup game. France versus somebody in a World Cup game that's going to be in Philadelphia. So we're going to go out there. So we're going to do a movie meetup while we're out there. Little thing there. Anyway. So as of right now, I'm not saying we will never do Detroit. I'm just saying right now, Detroit isn't on the immediate future list. So keep your eyes open for that. And all of the best luck to Jeff Goff and the Lions. I'm cheering for you guys. They're not my favorite team, but I cheer for the Detroit Lions. I think they're a really entertaining team. And screw the Detroit Red Wings. All right. I say that as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Also coming to us in the tip link, Tech Thin writes, "I saw Michael Friday night and it was transcendent. My favorite theater experience ever. Audience audibly reacting with every scene. Full house standing ovation at the end. Dozens of folks dancing in the aisles through the credits. Cars blasting his music in the lot." I'm glad you had that experience. Listen, my movie theater experience with Michael was also pretty good. Now, there was nobody standing or dancing in the aisles, and there was no standing ovation at the end. But in my screening of Michael, there was a lot of dancing in the seats, including me. During a lot of the music numbers, I caught myself doing this. I already told that when they got to the whole section about Thriller, I peeked over at my wife, Ann, and while the Thriller stuff was going on, Ann was doing the little Thriller move. So yeah, it was very, sparky. Again, here's the issue I have. In the world of thumbs up and thumbs down, I give Michael a thumbs up. I liked it. I had a good time. The pros outweighed the negatives. As a project that's designed exclusively just to celebrate Michael Jackson and celebrate his music, if you're a Michael Jackson fan, I think you're going to have a good time. And Ann and I are both Michael Jackson fans, so we had a good time. That being said, and no Uncle Jimmy Jam, I did not break out any breakdancing moves. I don't think I ever did any breakdancing to Michael Jackson. Most of my breakdancing was done to either Run DMC, Cool Mo D, Grandmaster Melly Mel and the Furious Five, you know, a lot of those kinds of guys. Some old school LL Cool J, a lot of that stuff. Anyway, so the problem, of course, is that as a movie, you know, where you go and expecting a good narrative line, deep characters, multi-dimensional elements, you know, narrative flow, all that kind of stuff. As somebody who liked the movie, overall, as a film, it has some pretty tremendous weaknesses. It has some pretty tremendous weaknesses. And that's why, like, after I came out of the film, I was like, okay, I get it why a lot of the film critics didn't like it. Because the film critics don't go into Michael as big Michael Jackson fans, just wanting to see Michael Jackson glorified and elevated. They went in expecting the same pure fundamentals that make any good movie a good movie. And to be honest, Michael lacks a lot of those. It does. Michael himself is portrayed extremely one-dimensionally. Like, Michael is an albeit awkward, but mega talented and like morally pure angel level. Like, everything about Michael is pure perfect. He's absolutely perfect. There is no character flaw in Michael Jackson in the movie. None. Not even a moment of him that is anything less than pure moral perfection. Whereas his dad, I think his name's Joseph Jackson, right? Even in my fictional villains, I like it when they show a little bit of depth. Like, Michael Jackson's dad is strictly portrayed one-dimensionally. Like, there's not even a moment in Michael where they want to show anything remotely redeeming about Joseph. And I'm not saying they should have portrayed him as a good guy. Heavens no. He's the villain of the film. He's the antagonist of the film. But even in the greatest, most evil antagonists, you have moments where you show multiple layers to them, right? And like, I would have loved it if even at any moment in Michael, if there was even just a glimpse of Joseph being proud of his son, still being a complete dick and still being a complete asshole, but one legitimate, honest moment in the movie of him just showing a glimpse of him being truly proud of his son, or even just showing a moment of legitimate affection for his wife, like between him and his wife. Don't portray him as the world's greatest dad. Don't portray him as the world's greatest husband. Just even a moment to add some depth to it. But every single character in the Michael movie is purely one-dimensional, like in the most extreme of ways that I've ever seen it in any movie. And again, as somebody who's a fan of Michael Jackson, going in to celebrate his music and wanting to really want to and dance in my seat, Michael delivered all of that. But there's no rule anywhere that says you can't do both. Bohemian Rhapsody is a great example of this. Like, Bohemian Rhapsody was a fabulous movie. Like, forget that Queen was ever a real band. Forget that for a second. And just look at it as a movie. And it was a really good movie. That's why it nearly made $1 billion. And then it also had, like, celebrating the music of Queen. So I think Michael had that potential. Still, at the end of the day, I liked it. I think anybody who's a Michael Jackson fan is going to really like it. But I totally understand why a number of critics and people walked out of it feeling like it was wanting a little bit. Anyway, that's just me. That's just kind of my thought on it. All right. That's it for the questions that were sent in to the tip link. We are now going to move over to the questions you guys have been sending in the super chats. And where are we starting here? We are starting with Johnny Got Lost. And Johnny Got Lost writes, Thoughts on people in the industry signing an open letter to stop the merger. Will the movement have impact, or is it a nothing burger? Big fan of the show. Thank you, Johnny Got Lost. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, you guys have probably seen there are a lot of people, writers, directors, actors, producers, theater owners, signing petitions, including a lot of the biggest movie stars in the world, signing a petition to try to block Warner Brother and Paramount's merger. It's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying these people shouldn't have signed the petition. I think it's important to make your voice be heard, say something, make it clear where you stand on an issue. I think that's all great. I think that's all great. But is that actually going to move the needle for anybody? The answer is no. It's not. It's not going to move the needle. Nobody in a government agency is going, oh, wait a second. Javier Bardem doesn't want us to let this merger go through. Well, wait a minute. We better think about this then. They don't care about that. And they shouldn't. They should do what they think is the law. They should follow the law. Something a Donald Trump administration knows very little about, but in this case, it is something they should be doing. Just look, it doesn't matter if every single movie star in Hollywood says, we don't want this merger to go through. So what? If they have the legal right to do it, and the Warner Brothers owners, the shareholders, have a legal right to sell their shares, then just because you don't like it shouldn't stop them from being able to do it if it's all done legally. Now, there are still some legal questions. Like, make no mistake about that. There are still some legal questions about the whole thing. There are a number of state attorney generals that think there might be some conflict of interest and some competitive fairness issues and some legal issues that may stop it. I know one government agency is a little bit concerned that there's a lot of Middle Eastern money, like foreign money, doesn't matter whether it's Middle East or anywhere else. There's a lot of foreign money that's being put into it. And there's some concern that having that much foreign influence over a company that will combined own CBS News and CNN while being controlled by foreign entities, that's a concern to some people. I think it'll cross all these bridges. I do. I've been saying that for a long time. I think it'll get over all the hurdles, and I do think the merger will go through. I don't like it, but I think it will go through. And at the end of the day, yeah, all these people signing these petitions, good on them, good for expressing their voices, good for expressing their concerns. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything. That does not mean anything. All right. Next up, we go to, that was Johnny Got Lost. Enrique Inaratu writes, John, I watched your top 10 of 2019 video. Well, that was 7 years ago. There is no way there. You said now, but I think you mean no. There is now way you think Irishman is better than Endgame. I absolutely do. It was higher ranked. Do you still feel that way? Well, I don't remember my list, to be honest with you. And remember, movies are experiential events, and how we evaluate our experiences can change as we grow, and we change as we grow. So that can change. But if you were to come up to me, I don't remember putting Irishman 7 years ago above Endgame. But if you were to come up to me today and ask me, what do I think is a better overall movie? The Irishman. I loved Endgame. I loved it. I think it's great. I don't think it's a top 5 best MCU film, but I think it's great. I had a wonderful time watching it, and I'm looking forward to going back and watching it in theaters again when they do a re-release. But do I think Endgame is a better overall, better put together, better written, better executed movie than The Irishman? No, I do not. That doesn't mean you can't. But as an individual, that's how the movie hit me. The Irishman, other than the fact that it's like 45 minutes too long, and it is. Irishman is like 45 minutes too long. That movie is way too long for what it is. That being said, it's still a movie of extreme excellence. It's a movie of extreme excellence. That does not take anything away from Endgame at all. I love Endgame, but yeah, I personally think what's a better overall movie? When you're looking at the fundamentals of character construction, story, narrative, resolutions, all that kind of stuff, I just think Irishman's a better movie. So what? I think they're both great, but yes, I do think Irishman is a better movie. That's just me. All right. Next up, where are we at? We are at Raymond Verada writes, "Hey, John, new open mic. Just don't tax yourself like before. Just pace yourself. By the way, rest in peace, legendary Marvel DC writer Jerry Conway, who I believe was the creator of Punisher, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat there. Yeah, it was really sad to read about that. As far as overextending myself, here's the beautiful thing about splitting out open mics from the John Campea show. Whereas before, the John Campea show would run upwards of 2 hours every day. Now the John Campea show is only about an hour. So even if open mic goes an hour, I'm really only doing as much as I was doing before already. So the advantage of this is that I'm not actually adding to any of my time. So I don't think this is going to cause me to overextend myself. Because like I said, while I am doing open mic now most days, we are also doing the John Campea show like an hour shorter. So that kind of all balances out, I think. All right. Next up. Thanks for that, Raymond. We've got Christopher Brickner writes, caught up on Daredevil episode 5. Oh my God, they did that. I am caught up on Daredevil. I'm not sure what you mean by, oh my God, they did that. I don't know if you mean the fight. I don't know if you mean bringing Jessica Jones in. I'm not quite sure what you mean by, oh my God, they did that. But yes, I am caught up. And listen, I said this before. I will say it again. I'm really finding this season to be exceptional. I'm really, really loving this season. I've always said that I thought Daredevil Born Again season 1 was very, very good and worthy of the Daredevil name, but not quite on the same level as the Netflix Daredevil. This season, though, I think this season of Daredevil is absolutely on the same level as the Netflix Daredevil. Maybe not the best season out of those ones, but it's on that level. It's on that level. And we'll just now have to wait around and see if they're actually going to finish it strong or not. All right. Next up. Pianio writes, huge missed opportunity. Shang-Chi hasn't appeared since his solo movie. Completely agree. Hopefully he gets a proper role in Doomsday instead of just fighting Gambit. No. Now listen, you're talking to one of the world's biggest Shang-Chi fans, right? I love that movie. I remember being in that movie. I mean, I thought it looked good. I thought Shang-Chi looked good. But I remember being in that movie. It was one of the last world premieres I went to before I stopped going to those things. But I remember being at the premiere and watching this movie. And like, by the time it was over, I was shaking. I was so happy with the movie. I was literally shaking, and I had Greg Alba from Real Rejects sitting beside me. Greg Alba, who Ann and I joke is our son from the future, kind of like Cable, because Greg is part Italian, part Filipino. That's me and Ann. Anyway, so I literally stand up on my seat, and I believe I grabbed Greg's shoulders, who was still sitting in my seat, and I literally say to him, "Can you believe how fucking good that was?" Like, I just couldn't believe how great Shang-Chi was. Now, so you're talking to somebody who absolutely loves Shang-Chi. Love that movie. That said, the movie is called Avengers Doomsday. It's not called The Avengers and Shang-Chi. Everybody wants their favorite character to have a big role, right? But it's not their movie. He's part of an ensemble. And if anything, we know this is going to be Steve Rogers' movie and Robert Downey Jr.'s Victor Von Doom movie, with some other significant roles being played as well. But I would not expect to see Shang-Chi play a major role in Doomsday. He'll be a strong supporting character, but that will be about it. I'm sure we're going to see more of him than just fighting Gambit, which was one of my favorite. No, strike that. That was my favorite part of the Doomsday trailer, was Shang-Chi fighting Gambit. Now, that being said, I agree with you that it has been a big missed opportunity to have no Shang-Chi since the movie came out. I mean, I just don't know what they're thinking. That was a wonderful movie, great character. Even the supporting characters surrounding him were really fun. You got Michelle Yeoh in there. And I've never been a big Awkwafina fan. Now, I became a bit of an Awkwafina fan. Help me out in the live chat what the name of the movie is. It's the movie where she travels back to China to say, because everybody believes her grandmother is dying, and she travels back to China to say goodbye to her grandmother. Anybody remember in the live chat what the name of the film was? I'll look. The Farewell. Thank you. The Rich Reviews was the first one to get that. The Farewell. I actually became a bit of an Awkwafina fan with The Farewell. Her performance in that was actually really, really good. I thought it was a weird choice putting her in Shang-Chi, but I'll tell you what, the chemistry between her and Simu Liu was awesome. It was really good. And again, while traditionally I've not been a fan of Awkwafina's shtick, I thought she was really good in Shang-Chi, and I really do think it is a missed opportunity that they haven't done another one since. And hopefully they will rectify that soon. Simu Liu, good Canadian kid, keeps insisting that he is coming. We're getting Shang-Chi too. I don't know why it's taking them so long to do it. I really don't. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Ryan, who writes, my first thought on seeing The Authority getting canceled was that Paramount Skydance vetoed it. No, they did not. And wanted him to focus on Justice League characters like the Batman. Let me be very, very, very clear about this. Paramount does not own Warner Brothers. Paramount has zero influence over Warner Brothers right now. Nothing. They can't even make a phone call. They have absolutely zero influence over anything that's happening at Warner Brothers right now. Warner Brothers is carrying on business as usual until such time that all the hurdles get cleared and they actually get the okay and the green light to buy the company. Yes, the shareholders approved the sale, but they did not execute the sale. Paramount has zero control. And by the way, do you think James Gunn would give a flying fuck if David Ellison or anybody at Paramount called him right now and said, hey, we'd really like it if you didn't do The Authority? He would say, fuck you in about 15 different ways and then fast track The Authority. That's what James Gunn would do. But James Gunn doesn't feel that they have the right movie together. They don't feel they have the right script for it. And so they're going to move on and do other things. But yes, I understand the confusion. I really do, because, all this talk about Paramount taking it over, the fact that the shareholders just approved the sale, but they did not execute the sale. I totally understand the confusion, but be very, very, very clear about this. Paramount, as of right now, and for the next 4, 5, 6 months, have zero say or any control over anything that goes on over at Warner Brothers until they actually buy it, which is not going to happen for a number of months. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. That's completely off. Now that will change once they do buy it. But yeah, as of now, that's not the issue at all. All right. Again, totally understand the confusion on that, Ryan. By the way, I love the Montreal Expos logo you got for your avatar there. All right. Ryan Loney writes, as a book reader, show fans aren't prepared for House of the Dragon. If you thought Game of Thrones had a death count, you've seen nothing. This war destroys generations. Yeah, it really does. Obviously, for anybody who didn't read up and learn about all the things that happens in House of the Dragon later, It gets pretty brutal. Yeah. I'm not, again, for anybody who hasn't, it just wants to watch the show. It gets pretty damn brutal. And I think a lot of people are not going to, like, everybody who knows what happens, you already know what happens. For people who don't know what happened, I don't think they would even guess. If they don't already know what happens from reading about it or hearing about it, I don't even think they'd be able to guess. So anyway, yeah, there's that. All right. Next up, we've got Ryan again. Also, I hope I wasn't too dismissive about Ryan. I like him, and as long as he plays a part in the finale. Oh, I remember. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I'll be happy. Good point about Butcher. So, Ryan, I forgot it was you. Ryan in a previous show wrote in suggesting that the character in The Boys, Ryan, who is Homelander's son and the son of Butcher's wife, who has now died, and kind of suggested that it should be Ryan that kills Homelander. I'm oversimplifying it. And I kind of said, well, maybe yes, maybe no. And we talked about that a little bit. So I get what you're saying, Ryan, though. I do. I totally get what you're saying. Thanks for clarifying, though. All right. Enrique writes, hot take. I think Casino is better than Goodfellas. Is that a really major hot take, though? I mean, to me, a hot take is when you say something that is clearly in the vast minority of opinion. That's a hot take. Like, you can't say, hot take, I think Michael Jackson. I think Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. That's not really a hot take. In as much as it also wouldn't be a hot take to say, I think LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. That is also not a hot take, because there's a lot of people who believe both, and a lot of strong arguments to be made both. By the way, I caused a bit of a stir on thing. I have, for right up till a few months ago, been on the train that Michael Jordan and LeBron James are clearly and easily and definitively the two greatest basketball players of all time, but that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I have changed that opinion, that I now believe that LeBron is the GOAT. I'm sorry, but points, assists, and rebounds are all great, but longevity is absolutely a wildly important stat. And the fact that LeBron James at 41 is still 8 nights out of 10 the best basketball player on the court is insane. He's the only player to be in the top 10 of points and in top 10 of assists and in the top 20 of all-time rebounds. Like, he's the number 1 scorer of all time and the number 4 assist guy of all time. Nobody else in the top 10 of scorers comes anywhere close to number 4 in the all-time assist list. Nobody. And here's where the argument basically comes down. Braun, better career. MJ had better prime. I would agree with that. I think Michael Jackson, I keep saying Michael Jackson. I think LeBron James and Michael Jordan, if you look at Michael Jordan and say at their absolute peak, in that one moment, at their absolute peak, I think Michael Jordan was better at his absolute peak than LeBron James is at his absolute peak. But that's not the definition of the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time is who had the best career. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. When you look at the statistics, LeBron James. When you look at overall positioning on all-time charts, it's LeBron James. When you look at longevity and how long he was able to sustain that greatness, it's LeBron James. So I have recently changed my position on that. You don't be the number 1 all-time scorer and the number 4 all-time assist guy and be in the top 20 of all-time rebounds and have the most playoff wins, playoff points, blah, blah. You don't do that and not be the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. He's had the best career of anybody in basketball history, period. That's it. Again, I didn't feel that like 4 or 5 months before. And somebody saying, what's their record in the finals, though? I know this. LeBron James got his teams to finals 4 more times than Michael Jordan did. Or are you just going to pretend that that doesn't mean anything? LeBron James took his team to the NBA Finals 10 times. 10 times. 4 times more than Michael Jordan was able to take his teams to the NBA Finals. And LeBron James was able to do it on multiple different teams. Now, obviously, there are guys who have more rings than both LeBron James and Michael Jordan, but rings are a testament to a team's greatness, not an individual's greatness. But again, how come Michael Jordan couldn't get his team to the finals as many times as LeBron James got his team to the finals? Anyway, I could go off on an hour like this, but that we are not here to have a basketball discussion. We're here to talk about the movie stuff. Anyway, let's keep going here too. Oh, by the way, yeah, getting back to the Casino. Hey, listen, I think Goodfellas is better than Casino, but Casino is so good, Enrique. Casino is so good. Like that damn scene. I just think about this scene all the time. When they catch the guy cheating at the table and they drag his ass into the back room, like, oh, what hand? Are you left or right-handed? And then they smash, they take the hammer. Oh my God. Like Casino is awesome. So I do think Goodfellas is better than Casino. But it's close. They're both like magnificent. They're both magnificent. All right, next up, Jay Liu writes, does the Doomsday trailer give away too much? No, absolutely not. I'm sure I should watch it. Are there still surprises that aren't given away in the trailer? Thanks. The trailer gives nothing away. Yeah, you see that Shang-Chi fights Gambit, but it gives you nothing of the context. Yes, you see that Thor meets Steve Rogers, but we all know Steve Rogers in the movie, so it's not really giving it away that they meet and talk, right? So no, honestly, I can say there was really nothing in the trailer that gives really anything away. I don't believe. So no, you're totally safe to watch the Doomsday trailer when it eventually comes out online. All right. Jay Tovin writes, I like the wrestling approach using the bigger name characters to get the obscure characters over instead of their own project out of the gate like Marvel. I don't know that I agree. I think it doesn't matter. A good movie's a good movie. A bad movie's a bad movie. So, look, obviously something like Black Panther clearly did enjoyed some benefit from first being introduced in Civil War. I think a portion of Black Panther's box office success is attributed to the fact that he had a great introduction in Civil War. So that goes against what you're saying, because Marvel has done that too. Marvel has also done it where they set up a character in another movie first. But at the same time, they made Guardians of the Galaxy when nobody had ever heard of them. And Guardians of the Galaxy was a massive success. Massive success. Right out of the gate. So, yeah, I really do believe that you can have a brand new character that a lot of people don't recognize and know, and it can still be awesome. You can have a character that you set up in something else first, and it could be terrible. So I'm really fine with either. I really am fine with either. Like, I differ from a lot of people because a lot of people believed that the way you do DC is you have this solo movie, solo movie, solo movie, solo movie, solo movie, solo movie, then you do Justice League. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But I don't believe the magic is in the formula. You could have launched a new DC with a Justice League movie. 100% you could have. 100% you could have. I'm not saying that's what they should have done. I'm just saying that was as viable of an option as saying you got to do all these individual films first. I always go back to this. With Guardians of the Galaxy, you didn't need to establish a Star-Lord solo movie, and a Gamora solo movie, and a Drax solo movie, and a Groot solo movie, and a Rocket solo movie, and a Ravager solo movie, and on and on. You didn't have, and then do Guardians of the Galaxy. No, you can just do Guardians of the Galaxy. George Lucas didn't think he had to first make a solo Luke Skywalker movie, and then a solo Ben Kenobi movie, and then a solo Han Solo movie, and then a solo Adventures of R2-D2 and C-3PO movie, and a solo Princess Leia of Alderaan movie, and then make Star Wars. No. You get these great characters, put them in a movie, go. And if you write a great movie, it'll work. If you write a great movie, it will work. And if you write a bad solo movie, it won't work. So I think the answer is not the formula. You can start with solo movies. As long as you write them well, you can have success. You can start with a team-up movie. If you write it well, it'll have success. And if you write either one of them poorly, it won't work. Again, I don't think the answer is at all in which formula do you follow. Just write a good movie. And if you write a good movie that's a team-up movie, it'll work. If you write a great movie that's a solo movie, it'll work. And if you don't, they won't. So I know that's kind of my take on it at any rate. All right. Thanks for the question, man. Next up, Jay Tovin also writes, do you think starting X-Men without Wolverine and with the OG5 is a mistake? So the OG5, Jean Grey, Scott/Cyclops, Bobby, Iceman, Beast, and what am I? Scott, Jean, Beast, Iceman. Oh, and Angel. Starting with the original 5. Yeah, I do. Again, it's not about formula. You can do it with just the OG5, and it can work. It absolutely can. I am not sitting here saying that by it being a mistake, I means that it can't work. It's gonna fail. I'm not saying that at all. But what I do think is that they are putting themselves in a better chance for success if they come out of the gate with the singular, easily most popular mutant in all of comics, which is Wolverine. He's not my all-time favorite. That's Magneto. But he is, without a doubt, unquestionably, even if you ask Wolverine haters, they'll tell you, who is the most popular mutant character? Well, it's obviously Wolverine. 9 times out of 9. 10 times out of 10, 11 times out of 11. So I think it can absolutely work without Wolverine. It's not about the formula. It's about whether you write a great movie. But do I think they have a better chance of success if they have Wolverine in it? Yeah, I do. It could still fail, but I think their chances for success go up. So they can succeed either way. They can fail either way. I just think it's a bit of a mistake, which I do think they will have Wolverine in the first X-Men movie, to be honest. I know there are some whispers going around out there about they won't, but I don't trust those. I mean, very well they may not, because like you said, he's not one of the original 5. He actually doesn't come into it till a little bit later, like significantly later. But yeah, I think it would be a mistake if they went that way. But again, that doesn't mean it can't work and it can't be a tremendous success even if they do it without him. I just think they have a better... It's like this. Do I think it's a mistake taking a 3-pointer when you have a layup available to you under the basket? Yes, depending on the circumstances. But that doesn't mean taking the 3-pointer won't work. You just have a higher chance of making a basket if you take the layup. You might miss the layup. You might make the 3-pointer. You just have a higher % chance of success if you take the layup. And I think Wolverine in this case is the layup, but that's just me. All right. Next up, we got Enrique, who writes, also, I watched Shutter Island and Silence. I think you mean, wait, do you mean Silence or Silence of the Lambs? For the first time. Oh, you're talking about Scorsese films and you're talking about Silence. You're right. For the first time, criminally underrated Scorsese flicks. I guess Marty makes more than just gangster films. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously the joke is Martin Scorsese doing gangster films. But when you look at Martin Scorsese's filmography, he goes way beyond gangster films. Just it happens to be that some of the greatest gangster films of all time that aren't called The Godfather are Martin Scorsese films. Now, I think it's safe to say all the best gangster films that are not called The Godfather are Martin Scorsese films, but absolutely. And Shutter Island, by the way, I don't think it's his best film, but I think you're right. That is an underrated film. And Silence, nobody went to go see Silence. Nobody went to go see Silence. I thought that was also a pretty damn good film. Also think that was a pretty damn good film. All right. Next up, we got Antonio, who writes, hey, John, been following since the AMC days. Thank you so much. Love your content. Thinking of moving from Montreal to Hamilton. Any areas you recommend? P.S. Go Habs, go. Well, I mean, look, I love Montreal. I love Montreal. Me and my buddies would hop in our cars every once in a while, make the 5+ hour drive to go to Montreal and spend some weekends in Montreal. It's a great party city. It's fantastic. The culture, the cobblestone streets, the old quarter is magnificent. I hate the Habs, but I love Montreal. Hamilton, I think, is the greatest city in the world, but that's because that's where I grew up. Hamilton is my hometown. Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, the Hammer. I went to Saint Jean de Brebeuf, which was the main, we've been talking a little bit about the NBA. So there's two main parts of Hamilton. Right? You got the mountain and you got downtown. That's how we kind of generalize it. There's many different areas of Hamilton. We kind of break it up in general to the mountain and downtown. And up on the mountain, I was in the Catholic school system, and we had 2 Catholic high schools up on the mountain. I think we had about 4 or 5 downtown, but there were 2 Catholic high schools on the mountain. Saint Jean de Brebeuf, which is where I went, and St. Thomas More, which is where the current reigning NBA MVP, SGA, that's where he went to high school. He went to my big rival high school, which was right up the road from us. That's where he went. Anyway, I like to prop Hamilton, Ontario whenever I get a chance. Hope you don't mind, but Hamilton, Ontario is the greatest city in the world. So anyway, and yes, some people, I heard here, but wait a minute, SGA isn't American? No, he's Canadian. Anyway, so I'm biased because I grew up on the mountain. If you can live up in the mountain, particularly further south, like around the Bimbrook area, it's beautiful. You got big open spaces. Plus you're in about 15 minutes from the heart of the city. So I would personally recommend up on the mountain. That's just me. All right. But I'm biased. You have to understand that. All right. Arnav writes, I saw a live action Static Shock in development. I don't think that was ever official. Is it still stalled like James Gunn reported or back on? It was also in development in 2020. That's the thing about Static Shock. Static Shock was this thing that was always whispered about, always rumored about, always talked about, but never anything solidly official. Like never anything solidly official. And so any project that isn't actually greenlit or I don't know if you can say it's stalled because it was never official in the first place. And as of right now, I don't think Static Shock is on the roadmap for DC at the moment. Not that I know of. Now, if James Gunn were to walk in this room right now and sit down, maybe he'll say, actually, Campea, you're wrong. We are looking at hopefully doing, I don't know, a Static Shock movie in 2028. Great. But to the best of my knowledge, I don't think they're actually have Static Shock on the roadmap right now. Again, I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, that's what I understand. Okay. By the way, guys, just so you know, I only intended for today's show to go an hour, and we are clearly going to be going longer than an hour. So I am going to turn off the super chats in about 30 seconds. So if you still had something you want to fire it in quickly, because I'm about to turn them off. Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh, we still have so many questions to get through. Okay, next up, we get to, that was that one. Okay, Bills HQ. Hey, John, I consider you an honorary Buffalonian because of your hometown's proximity to Buffalo. Very close, spend a lot of time in Buffalo. What do you think of the Sabres' crazy run right now? You know what? A lot of times we would drive over the border to go to Buffalo. Like my team was the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it was so expensive to go to a Leafs game. Like people in LA think it's hard to get a Lakers ticket. That's nothing compared to trying to get a Leafs ticket. Anyway, because basketball's big in LA. The Maple Leafs are a religion. Hockey is I don't, Americans joke about it, but I don't think you really get it. Like the reason a country as tiny as ours, population-wise, like landmass, we're much bigger than the United States, but population-wise, we're much, 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 much smaller. The reason why this tiny little population of Canada can always so dominate the US, at least on a consistent basis, the recent, overtime game in the Olympics notwithstanding, what a great Olympics that was, is because to Canada, hockey is a religion. It's a religion. So, but it was very, very difficult to be able to go to Toronto Maple Leaf games. So what we used to do is once in a while we would just go the other way. We really wanted to go see hockey. So we would jump in the car and drive just about 45 minutes to an hour, drive through Niagara Falls, go over the border, go into Buffalo, and we would go watch Sabre games. I even got to go watch the Great Dominator when when you guys had Dominik Hasek, maybe the greatest goaltender of all time. He later went on to have a lot of success also in Detroit with the Red Wings. But I think, I think the Dominator, I've never seen a goaltender. That's why his nickname was the Dominator. I've never seen a goaltender dominate a game the way Dominik Hasek did. It's very rare that a goaltender dominates the game. But Dominik Hasek, I believe, like all due respect to Jacques Plante and Ken Dryden, and like to all the greats, Dominik Hasek is the greatest goalie that ever lived. And you guys in Buffalo got to enjoy him for a while. So that's pretty cool. So I'm super happy for them. Super happy for them to see them getting back into the playoffs. It's been a while. All right. Espinoza, 1989, sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Espinoza. Appreciate that, man. And he writes in, since everybody wants to do musical biopic films, what would you think of a Lou Pearlman biopic? He's the guy who created both the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, who turned out to be a con man who was running a Ponzi scheme. Well, I mean, if he was more than just a con man if he actually created the Backstreet Boys. I mean, I've never heard of the guy. I'm not going to pretend that I have. I've absolutely never heard of this guy. So I don't think you can make a musical biopic out of somebody that nobody's heard of, because I'm not sure anybody would be interested in going to see it. And maybe he was a bit of a crook, but I don't know if you legitimately created, and again, I don't know this, but I'm just going off what you're saying here. If he legitimately created NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, well, then he was more than just a con man. He clearly got some results. Like, right? He clearly got some results. So I don't know, it might make for an interesting movie. I don't know if I'd call it a musical biopic though, if he himself wasn't the musician. That's just kind of my take on it. But it sounds like it could be an interesting story. It sounds like I've never heard of the guy, but I think that's interesting. I did not know that the same person who created Backstreet Boys also created NSYNC. I had no idea. Somebody in the live chat is saying, Carl in the live chat is saying that he was super famous in the good MTV years. Well, we didn't have MTV in Canada, so we had Much Music. That was our MTV in Canada. It was called Much Music. It was really good. It was really good at the time. All right. Thank you for that, Espinoza. And thank you so much for tipping that much, dude. That's incredibly generous of you. Jesse has a turtle writes, any concern that Elijah is too old for Frodo? Nah, not really. Because like you see Elijah Wood these days, the dude has not aged much. The dude has simply not aged. That dude's got perpetual baby face. He has perpetual baby face. Then you go heavy makeup, stuff like that. And now again, I can already hear somebody, well, then why don't you think Viggo Mortensen? Because Viggo Mortensen does not look the same as he did when he did Lord of the Rings 20, 30, 40, 100 years ago, whatever. I mentioned this the other day. So I heard this stat that I believe is accurate, that Viggo Mortensen today is older than Ian McKellen was when he played Gandalf for the first time in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so I have no concern with Elijah, just because the dude still has baby face. And yeah, I mean, that's that. Okay, next up, we have Jesse Has a Turtle who writes, how does Marvel reboot after Secret Wars without being confusing? Like, what will the characters know? Acknowledge that the universe is a reset? Well, listen, dude, we still have Spider-Man to get through. We still have Doomsday to get through. We still probably have 1 or 2 other Marvel films to get through. And then we still have Secret Wars to get through. How can we possibly answer that question when we haven't seen any of those next 4 or 5 movies? We have to get through Secret Wars to see where they end up and how they're going to do it. By the way, they might reboot as in they just reboot. Like all new characters, or at least all new actors, totally brand new story, just like Spider-Man got rebooted, right? You had I almost said Elijah Wood. You had Tobey Maguire, and then they rebooted. It wasn't that Andrew Garfield forgot that he was Tobey Maguire. No, it's just a brand new clean slate. They might do that after Secret Wars. Or they might do it a different way. I don't know, but we got to see how they're going to do it. Now, you can say, I can already hear a lot of people, well, John, in the comics. Well, these aren't the comics. These aren't the comics. This is the movies, and they do things differently in the movies than they do in the comics. Always have. Marvel always takes massive liberties with the original comic book stories because that's how you make better movies. But I just don't know, man. I mean, we have a long way to go before we can even begin to guess on that about how they do it. So let's just buckle in, see what direction they go. We might be able to form some theories after we get through Doomsday, but let's wait until that happens at least. That's my guess at any rate. All right. John Early writes, I don't think people understand the history being made next year. Even if it's Elseworlds, we're having a Superman film and a Batman film in 2027. Yes. I mean, not in the same cinematic universe. Not in the same cinematic universe. But yeah, we're going to get Man of Tomorrow. And if everything stays on schedule, we are also going to get Matt Reeves's The Batman Part 2. Now, there have been some whispers going around that they might actually delay The Batman Part 2 until 2028. I don't know that there's any legitimacy to those whispers. There might be. But as far as I know, which I can't verify, but as far as I know, it's still going to be 2027. And yeah, that's kind of crazy. We're going to get a Superman movie and a Batman movie in the same year. Not in the same cinematic universe, but in the same year. All right. Next up. Bobby Jackson writes, if the Django/Zorro movie is back on, do you think Fox and Banderas will return or would they recast? There's been a lot of talk. For those of you who don't know anything about this, there's been a lot of talk for years because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a comic book, right? Like they did a comic book of Django from Django Unchained and Zorro team up. And there had been talk about turning it into a movie. I don't think it actually happens. I don't see it actually happening. Now, Django, I go back and forth on whether Django or Inglourious Bastards is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I go back and forth on it all the time because I love them both so much. Would I be in line to go see that? Yes. Would I like to see both Jamie Foxx and Antonio Banderas come back and do them? Also, yes. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it does. I've not heard anything, but my guess, and it's only a guess, is that it will not happen. All right. The Tyler Take writes, MCU was built without Spider-Man or X-Men. A Gunn might be trying to do the same. If the DCU has a good track record, then people will be hyped for Batman and Wonder Woman. Absolutely. 100%. Like, that's what I was talking about before. Look at what happened with Transformers, right? Transformers they made one really good movie, which was the first one. Like, I'll always defend the first Michael Bay Transformers movie. And then he just crouched down and defecated out terrible Transformers movies after that. And they made a lot of money because his Transformers in the first one was good, but eventually it caught up with them. So they put out Transformers The Last Night, and it took a massive, still made like 600 or correct me if I'm wrong, I think it made 600 and something million dollars, Transformers last night, maybe even more than that. But it took a massive nosedive from the money that the previous movie made. And then even good movies after that, like Bumblebee is the best Transformers live action movie, period. And it couldn't make a lot of money because they already drove the brand into the ground. Transformers 1 was a fantastic animated movie. Fantastic animated movie. By the way, Damash is saying it, yeah, made 605 million, which was almost half of what the previous one had made. Transformers 1, the animated film, was a marvelous Transformers movie. It didn't make any money because the Transformers name had already been run into the ground, right? That's why James Gunn is focused right now on planting good seeds. Just make high quality movies that the audience loves, that the critics love, overall great quality, builds up the reputation. Because if they do, then down the line, it will pay off in a positive way, much like in a reverse way, Michael Bay crapped out a lot of shitty Transformers movies and eventually caught up with them with low box office results. I think if James Gunn can reverse engineer that and plant high quality movie and project seeds now, it will pay off down the line. And if they released a Batman movie today, maybe it opens to $700 million. But if you release a Batman movie after you've already started to reestablish the reputation of DC, maybe it opens to $900 million or $1 billion. Who knows? We'll see. But I agree with you, Tyler. I do. I think that's the approach they're taking. All right. Next up, we've got Rich Reviews who writes, most misleading movie trailer that you remember and thinking, WTF when you saw the movie. For me, it was either The Exorcism of Emily Rose or Passengers. Oh, that's easy. Easy. I made, just so you know, I made a documentary bunch of years around the pandemic called Movie Trailers, A Love Story. It is both available on Amazon, but I believe I also put it up on YouTube. If you just want to watch, I put it up for free on YouTube. You can go watch it there. And in that documentary, we talk about the most misleading movie trailer of all time. And there are a couple. There are a couple of big ones. But by far, let me see if any of you in the live chat can even guess what I'm going to say as the biggest misleading, most easily misleading movie trailer of all time is. I know there's about a 15-second delay, so I'll give you guys a second to see if you can come up with. And I'm not seeing anybody guessing it. So here's what it is. Easily, the single most misleading trailer to any movie ever. The Bridge to Terabithia. The Bridge to Terabithia is by far the most egregiously misleading trailer ever made. Because they put out this trailer to this movie. Now, I understand it's based on a book. I'd never heard of the book, to be honest with you. But Bridge to Terabithia advertises this magical movie of these children who wander into the forest and find a magical kingdom, and they have adventures in this magical land of Terabithia. Right? That is what the trailers advertised as the movie. That these kids stumble across this magical kingdom and they go into the forest and have these wonderful adventures. But that is not what the movie's about. The movie is about these two kids who have a rough time and they go into the forest, yes, but they do not discover a magical kingdom. They play make-believe to kind of escape some crappy stuff going on in their life. And then one of the kids dies. And what you had happen was parents were taking their kids to go see Bridge to Terabithia, thinking they were taking them to see like a new Lion Witch in the Wardrobe or a kid's version of Lord of the Rings or some magical kind of thing, right? And instead, they have to spend their time explaining death to their kids as they're driving home. It is a dark, depressing kind of film. And listen, it's a good movie. Bridge to Terabithia is a good movie. But its marketing campaign was pure lies. pure lies, because that ain't what the movie was about at all. At all. That is easily the most, Stravanis is saying, I'm still traumatized by it. It is the most deceptive, misleading, lying marketing campaign of all time. Because the marketing department at Disney, because I think it was Disney's marketing department, the marketing department at Disney, they didn't want to, they couldn't sell that movie. Well, it's about these two kids having a hard time, then one of them dies, and then it's all about this one kid dealing with the death of their friend. Ooh. You can't sell that. So they sold this magical adventure. And oh my God, I still remember people were so pissed, especially parents. There were so many parents that were so pissed, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Anyway, next up, we got Johnny Got Lost writes, thoughts on people in the industry signing an open letter to stop the merger? Oh, well, we already answered that. So yeah, hopefully that's not just reloading the same old questions. Okay, nope, okay. Stunna Williams writes, are we getting Superman 2? Oh, we are getting Superman 2, and yet still Batman or Bruce Wayne hasn't been introduced yet. Unacceptable. Get over it. What do you mean unacceptable? Get over it. What the hell are you talking about? Unacceptable. You make a movie when you have a right, completed, perfected script, rather than just put it out because that's what the timetable says. This one's got to go out next. Now, like I said, oops, I'm going to wreck things. In my ideal world, I probably would, like if it was me, I would probably, because the standard blueprint is, and I would have done it too, launch with at least 2 of the 3 Trinity, maybe even all 3 first. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman first. But what makes it you think Clayface is going to be less good because Batman isn't out there yet? Just get over it. Like, there's no formula. Now, do I think that DC should get like 9, 10, 11 films in before they have a Batman in their universe? No. But as of right now, we've only had 1 DC film come out. 1. Superman. We're about to get Supergirl, and then we'll have Man of Tomorrow. But even then, we're only 3 films in. Well, 4 if you count Clayface. Now, if we get to 9, 10, 11, 12 movies in, still without having Batman, okay, yeah, then I think, like, listen, you're talking about your most popular character. Let's get him going. But it to me, going back to the same thing we were talking about before, I think they should have Wolverine in the first X-Men movie. But I'm not going to sit here and saying, you're not going to have the single most popular Marvel character and the single most popular mutant character in all of comics in the first movie. Unacceptable. Well, get over it. You don't know what the plan is. I don't know what the plan is either. But there's no formula. And I would rather them wait, a couple of years to make sure they have the absolute best Batman film they can to launch him, because you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. You do not get a second chance to make a first impression. So they're getting a Superman 2 because they had a fleshed out, completed, perfected story for it. And they don't for Batman yet. And they'll do Batman. Again, let's have this conversation again, because you may see me swinging my pendulum a little bit the other way, maybe getting more on board with you. Again, if we get to 9 films, 10 films, 11 films, and still no Batman, then I think you and I can have this discussion and we can sit around and gripe together. But I think for right now, I think it's a little bit of a get over it situation. Yeah. JJag is asking, why do people hate James Gunn's Superman? They don't. It has over a 90% audience rating and a high cinema score. The vast, ridiculously, mathematically vast majority of people love the new Superman. That's just a fact. But some people don't. And why do some people not? Because film is subjective and movies hit us all in different ways. Nothing wrong about that. Nothing wrong about that. Anyway. All right. Next up. Matt with Pepsi just sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that, man, very much. It's very generous of you. Rich Reviews writes, I think we should start a petition to have John do the color commentary desk for the next year's WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. I would love, no, I will leave color commentarying wrestling to my friend Nigel McGuinness. He does that much better. Yeah, I still, I gotta tell you, Nigel, of course, was out of wrestling for a lot of years because of an injury, and he thought his wrestling days were over, and so he went and started doing color commentary. And then he got cleared to try wrestling again. And I still remember, I myself did not travel to England for it. Anne went over to England for it, but to watch that massive event they had in Wembley Stadium, and to watch Nigel come out and down the ramp and hearing Wembley Stadium go crazy for him, I was so proud of the guy. It really was. Like, this is a guy who was, ever since he was a kid, he had a dream of wrestling. He was starting to have great success in wrestling, suffered a terrible injury. And so he was out of wrestling, was able to keep his foot in wrestling by doing color commentary, both for WWE and AEW. But to then be able to, many years later, actually get back into the ring again, super proud of the guy. Couldn't be prouder for the guy and happier for the guy. All right. Next up, Luke Starkiller writes, "Hey John, how are you? Good, thank you. Just wondering, did you see any new technology for cinema at CinemaCon, like the new seats or projectors, etc.? I did see a lot of new seats. I didn't go to any of the projection seminar stuff, so I don't know about that. But they had a lot of the seating companies on the trade floor. And Ann and I spent a lot of time on the trade floor because they literally just give away all the free food, snacks, and drinks you can handle. Like every other booth. Here's a big bag of candy. Another booth. Here, have all the ice cream you can possibly carry. Here, have these hot dogs with these sourdough buns. And over here's all the soda machines. Just take whatever you want. It's absolutely Ann's favorite part of CinemaCon. And it's where I discovered CVT ice cream. Thank you to you guys. It was a revelation. But anyway, also on the trade floor, they do other stuff like the popcorn bucket manufacturers. That's where I got the Shao Kahn popcorn bucket for Mortal Kombat. They're just giving those and tons of them away for free. Anyway, but they also had a number, like about 5 or 6 seating companies that just made chairs for theaters, for luxury theaters. And I'll tell you what, man, some of them were amazing. Some of them were absolutely amazing. Some of them with like our massage chairs, like you can sit down and watch the movie and it'll massage like your lower lumbar and like all this kind of stuff. Some of them are just some of the most comfortable chairs I've ever sat in my life. Like they're all leather, reclining, all that kind of stuff. So I did get to see a lot of that stuff though, and that was pretty cool. All right. Rich Reviews writes, what do you think could be the future of cinemas, VR, 360 theaters, or inactivity? None of the above. The future of cinema, like, will all that stuff be toyed with? Yes. Just like 3D got toyed with for a hot minute, and now hardly anybody goes through. See, just like, remember they were making 3D TVs? Nobody even makes 3D TVs anymore. None of that is the future of cinema. The future of cinema is still a great movie on a great screen. Yes, they will introduce some other things to play around with, but at the end of the day, a great movie on a great screen. That's the future of cinema. Yes, they will play around with all these different things. There will be niche markets for all these different things. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the movies have always been and will always be just a great movie on a great screen. That's what I personally think it is, at any rate. All right. This is a good example too. Like, Damashi writes, we need more things like Sphere. I went to go see Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. It was amazing. But again, it's a niche experience. I wouldn't want to go see all my movies that way. I absolutely would not. But watching that there, or watching a Star Wars, like that's a really cool experience. And I think there's going to be a lot of things like that we get to see introduced in the next few years. But the main staple, I think, will continue to be great movies on a great screen. And that's it. All right. Rich Reviews again writes, is there an IP that studios or streamers should take another chance on? For me, it's Odd Thomas's series by Kuntz. Great book series, mediocre 2015 film starring Anton Yelchin. I don't even know the movie we're talking about, to be honest with you. And since I don't know the book, I don't know the original film, and nobody went to go see the original film, I don't see why anybody would make another one. That all being said, you're asking which IP should be revisited is different than asking what movie should get remade. Like, I would love, to me, Last Starfighter absolutely needs to be remade. It is the most primed position movie to benefit from a remake out of any film in history. So they should absolutely do that. By the way, somebody just brought up a good one in the I think it was Stavros saying I Am Number 4. Yes. Actually, you know what? I obviously saw I Am Number 4, and that it was at a special event, advance industry screening of I Am Number 4, that I got to introduce Anne to, why am I freezing on the dude's name? What's the name of the guy who's in The Greatest Showman with Hugh Jackman? Why am I freezing? A lot of people think he should be Wolverine. And he was 18 again. Guys in the live chat, help me out. Why am I freezing on his name? I talk about him all the time, and I'm freezing on his name right now. Anyway, he is one of Anne's favorites, and I got to take Anne with me to the screening of I Am Number 4. And, Zac Efron. Thank you, Art. Yes, Zac Efron. I got to introduce Anne to Zac Efron at that one. So anyway, and you know what? It was a fun little movie, but it did not live up to the potential that it had. And I think you're right. I think actually a good one. I Am Number 4 is probably one a studio could take another shot at as an IP and just do it differently and do it better. I think it does have a shot at it. And Zac Efron was not in the original I Am Number 4. It's just that he was friends with a couple of the cast members, so he was at that party too. He remembered me from some stuff that we had done previously, so I got to introduce Anne to him. It made me look really cool in front of Anne that I got to bring her up and introduce her to Zac Efron. That was my, now I'm in her good books now forever. Anyway. All right. Next up. Be Afraid in VR writes, personally, I'd like to see Hellboy again on the level of Guillermo del Toro's 2004, maybe even under Netflix's umbrella, since they have and work well with dark fantasy. Wednesday's questionable. Witcher, the first season of Witcher was amazing. Umbrella Academy. Yeah, I loved Umbrella Academy. Yeah, you know what? I often bristle when people say, make this a series. It's like, no, movies work better as movies. But a Netflix Hellboy series, not a bad idea. That one I won't bristle against. That one could be interesting. Sign me up. I don't think it'll ever happen, but sign me. I'd be down for that. I would be down for checking that out. Good idea, Be Afraid. I like that one. All right, Benji Gator writes, my wife is dragging me to the movies this weekend to watch Devil Wears Prada 2. What's your prediction for its opening weekend? I don't know. I'm going to guess 100 million. I think it'll be bigger than Michael. Now, I don't know. Maybe it opens to 40 million. Maybe it opens to 20 million. I haven't looked at the opening weekend projections. But here's the fact. The number one trailer in all of 2025, this is a statistical fact. This is math. The number one trailer of the whole year was the Devil Wears Prada 2 first trailer. It just was. Go look it up. Bigger than the Odyssey trailer, bigger than any other trailer that came out all year. The Devil Wears Prada 2 was the biggest trailer. The first trailer was the biggest trailer of 2025. Fact. Here's another fact. The second Devil Wears Prada 2 trailer that came out in 2026 is now in the top 10 all-time most viewed trailers. Fact. You don't think this movie's going to open? That doesn't mean it's going to be a $1 billion film, but you don't think this is going to open big? Are you drunk? Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a $200 million opening or $150 million opening. I don't think it opens as big as Mario Brothers Galaxy movie, which I think opened to like, what, 120, 100, whatever it opened to. And I'm not guaranteeing it opens to 100 million, but if you don't think that the movie with the biggest trailer of 2025 and its 2026 trailer cracking the top 10 all-time most viewed trailers list, You don't think that movie has a chance at $100 million opening? You got to be smoking something. Michael only opened in 97. Now, that's the all-time biggest for a musical biopic, but a lot of movies open to $100 million or more. And I don't know what to tell you if you keep underselling it. I don't know what to tell you if you keep doubting this movie. I don't know what to tell you. And by the way, The Devil Wears Prada is a really good movie. It's a really good movie. I'm not its target audience, but I rewatched it again a few months ago because Anne wanted to rewatch it with a new movie coming. And I'm like, yeah, I remember liking the movie. So I sat down and watched it and I'm like, this movie's really good. It's a really good movie. And I think the second one's going to be every bit as good. So your wife may be dragging you to it, but yeah. Now, some people are saying it's being, so Box Office Theory is predicting up to 170, is predicting up to $74 million opening weekend. Okay, I'm just saying, don't fall out of your chair if this movie opens to 100 million. That's all I'm saying. Again, I'm not guaranteeing it, but if you don't think it has a chance at that, I just don't think you're thinking it through. I don't think you're thinking it through if you don't think it has a chance. It might not get to it. It might not. 100% it might not. I wouldn't put money on it, but don't bet against it. That's all I'm telling you right now. Don't bet against it. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got... Oh, that was it. That's the last one. Okay, guys. And that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic, our first open mic of this new sort of era. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on by and hanging out with us today as we covered this stuff, taking your live comments and questions. We will be back again tomorrow with another installment of Open Mic. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves talking with me, talking amongst yourselves. I had a really good time doing it. I hope you had a good time participating as well. And remember, if you're one of the people watching this show later in the day, you can still send in a question to be involved on the show by using the tip link instead of the super chats. That's simply at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And you can send in a question there and we will address it on tomorrow's Open Mic. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, guys. It's been a fun day of broadcasting with the John Campea Show earlier and now Open Mic. Looking forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. That'll do it for me for now. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.